What's going on, everybody? My name is Scotch T.Y., also known as Scotch Ty, also just known as Scotch. I am a member of the Wise Guys. So today we're coming at you with a deck profile that will be going on to the Wise Guys channel, as you're seeing right now. This is my Tri-Color Gotenks deck. I've had a lot of input from Trey Faircloth. We've gone in-depth into this deck multiple times, trying to get it into a nice situated deck that's consistent as well as extremely viable in this meta, which, as we know, if it's not Cell or it's not Vegeta, it shouldn't be in the meta, right? Well, I beg to differ. Now, this deck's playstyle is very different from a lot of the decks in the meta. It has a counter to just about everything. So as you can see, it's Tricolor, so we have Gotenks as our leader, okay? Great card, but at the same time, it's subpar. It says when this card attacks a opponent's leader card, if you have less cards in hand than your opponent, they discard one card. So basically, it's a watered-down version of Broly that doesn't require Broly's Ring. It's the same thing on the Awakened side. The Awakened side also has the discard effect at the same time as having a +1 draw. Kind of subpar. The way that this card works with this deck is basically you don't care if they awaken you or not. In fact, you prefer if they don't awaken you, because then you're just swinging in for free discards. And the way that I like to look at it is every time that I attack and they're awakened and I'm not, I'm negging them the card that they would draw next turn. Okay? Now, we'll get into it later with the rest of this deck list about how you can slowly over time erode their hand over a few turns. Let me start out by saying this deck does not lose to aggro, because this deck has several engines in it at once and can easily switch between aggression and control. But overall, this is a mid-range control deck. Now, starting off the red lineup, we've got 3 Saiyan Kabas. Yes, you heard me right. Scotch, why 3? Why not 4? Well, to be honest, I don't have space for 4. But at the same time, I really just generally don't like 4-ofs. It took a lot of conversation between me and Trey in order to get that 4th objection even put into this deck, as well as the 4th sense of being. I just don't like 4-ofs at all. 4-ofs to me kind of just clog the deck. Mighty Mask should be a 3-of, but over time I've come to see generally that the 4-of's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't like seeing a card more than I can play it, and to me that's exactly what a 4-of feels like. 3-of, I see the card when I want to see it. 2-of, I see the card when I need to see it. 1-of, I see it generally sometime in the game. Alright, so 3 Saiyan Kaba. At this point, most of us know what this card, if not all of us, know what this card does. When this card attacks, you may take 1 card from your life, add it to your hand. This card gains 10,000 and double strike. It's pretty good. For a 1-drop, it's pretty good. It's very easy to say that this is the best 1-drop in the game. So 15k double strike on turn 1 is pretty solid. Moving into the next card. Now, those of you who saw my previous profile, this is what I call Mark 14. The previous profile I did was Mark 8. So that's several versions in between. We've now reduced Super Ghost Kamikaze Attack to 2 cards. So if you control a Gotenks in your leader or your battle area, summon 2 ghost tokens. The ghost tokens are colorless, they don't have a cost, and they have 15k. It's pretty good. We have a leader who's Gotenks, so we can literally summon them on turn 2 onwards. Moving into the next 2-drop, we have Mighty Mask. It's just a good card. I don't like it at 4 yet, but when you're running your perfect guard, what I call perfect guard, your 10k draws, when you're running them at 4 and it's a Trunks, it's easily searchable. So generally, your play with Mighty Mask is turn 2, you're going to want to bring it out, and you're going to want to grab whatever energy you don't have at that point. Since it is Tricolor, generally you want to start each match with 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green. I more often than not start with 1 red and then a green next because of the amount of blues that we're playing. So if we start with that, we're going to use Mighty Mask to grab the Trunks, Protector of Children, and then the blue Son Goten. At that point, we've got all 3 of our colors. He's only at 10k, so if you want to attack with him early game, it's recommended unless you're playing against decks that want to get a crap ton of cards in hand. So that's that play. You know, send this card to the drop area, search your deck for Goten and Trunks with 15k or less power, add them to hand. Moving on, the next card that we have is Leap to the Future Trunks and Leap to the Future Goten. They both have the same effect, so for the purpose of time, we're going to talk about them together. We play 5 total, all right? If we need a red energy at any given time and we have a Mighty Mask, we can grab either one of these cards. And if we grab either one of those cards, it's pretty solid for red energy, but as well as this card states that you can take this card and one other card from your hand, send them to the graveyard or the drop zone, and add a Gotenks with 25,000 or less power to your hand. Now, this card was argued about quite a bit, but at ARG Connecticut, ARG Hartford, it was decided finally, but head judge Max decided, you know, this is what this card does, and it is what it does. I know that a lot of people argue that it should be played on the field, but no, because the original email we got and the Q&A all say that it's from hand. That's how it is. So this card, you reveal it to your opponent, pitch it and another card to the grave, and like I said, search a 25k or less Gotenks and add it to your hand. And as you can see, every Gotenks in this deck is 25k or less, the highest being the 5-drop green Gotenks. Moving on, we have 3 Ability Unleashed Ultimate Gohan. The card is really, really solid. I love this card at 3. I also liked it at 2. I see it more at 3 now, so it's a solid card. It's a 3-drop that says it's got an auto ability. When this card attacks, you can either draw a card or gain double strike. Now the trick about this card is the way that the battle phase works. It's attack declaration, pass to your opponent, then they have a window to counter. If they don't counter, that's when you choose which one of the effects you are going to use. You can either choose to draw a card or choose to go ahead and give it double strike, which of course if your opponent negates it, then you are going to draw a card. It's a good card. Like I said, you got to know your phases and your steps. Moving on, this next card, literally everybody but me hates. I love this card. I think it's a phenomenal card. I think it's a great early game play. It's Prodigy Fusion Super Saiyan Gotenks, and it is a 4-drop that has dual attack. However, it has a union, so its union allows you to pitch a Goten and Trunks that have the same power to the drop area and summon it as a 2-drop. It requires 1 red, 1 colorless. So as you can see, we got plenty of Goten and Trunkses that are 15k, and we can literally pitch them all. This effect is a little wonky now because we're only running 2 Leap to the Future. We're not running any of the other Trunkses. So you really only have 2 shots at that in this deck in order to bring it out. So whether or not it stays there or whether or not I bump up Leap to the Future Trunks or add in the blue Trunks is still up for discussion. But as it stands right now, this is the build. Moving on, the next 4-drop is Jiren. Fist of Justice is this card's just good. It's just good. Previously, I've stated a million times I don't like this card because, well, honestly, I feel like in this deck it's kind of counterproductive sometimes, but when it goes off, it goes off. When it attacks a battle card, untap it and it gains 10k until the end of that battle, and then it can attack again. It has double strike. It's pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty good card. I've been running a lot of games with it, and sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't, but I feel like it's more so in this deck for a little bit of consistency and added pressure on your opponent. Now, moving into basically our win condition for this deck, the 5-drop Gotenks, as Trey says. It's a 5-drop Ghost Attack Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. It says when this card comes into play, summon 3 Ghost tokens. If you have 4 less cards in hand, all of the Ghost tokens on the board, as well as this card itself, gain double strike. This card eats its hand a lot. Between the Leap to the Futures and the objections later on, we'll get into that. You're able to eat your hand, as well as, well, honestly, Cell is a force to be reckoned with. If they want to hit your hand, then, you know, you're okay with that. And generally, I'm okay with that. So, continuing along into the greens, we play 2 Son Goten Family of Justice. It's destruction. It's a necessary evil. Blow a combo with this card, blow up a 3 or less on your opponent's side of the field. It's just a good card. Also searchable by Mighty Mask. So, moving on, Trunks Protector of Children. It's our perfect card, our 10k draw. Now, moving along to the next green card, we have the 3-drop Energy Power Gotenks. This Gotenks is pretty much the heart and soul of this deck. Since our leader discards, it's just fitting that we have another card that can get the discard on attack. Even if they Mafuba, even if they negate it, it does not matter. Block or anything. The original attack was on the leader. They will still discard a card. Alright? Now, as I said earlier, the combo to slowly erode your opponent's hand is if you have one of these out or more, and then you have your leader. Keep your hand low, swing in with the Gotenks. Your leader, make them discard a card. You don't have to be awakened. In fact, I love it when they're not awakened because then it's literally just a free neg for them. And then swing in with the Energy Power Gotenks. If they choose to combo against it, it's even better because now you're eating cards from their hand as well as you're basically negating their draw and their attack draw next turn because you're eating 2 cards from their hand. If you want to think of it that way, every turn you get 2 cards when you're awakened. You get 1 for drawing and then you get 1 for attacking. All right. If you can eliminate that, your opponent stays at a singular amount of cards in their hand unless they have some kind of skill interference that allows them to draw. Now, you're charging an energy every turn, so generally you're charging an energy every turn. It's just kind of, it'll get in there on you. It'll really get in there on you. So when you're able to just completely blow their hand to smithereens just by, poke, guard that energy power Gotenks. Early game to mid to late, you don't really care if you take damage. Generally, I don't awaken with this, until I'm at 3 or even 2 life. Then I'll awaken to start gaining some more cards back in hand, but just hitting your opponent for the free draw is pretty much free. Moving along, we've got the promo, Determined Super Saiyan Son Gohan. It's got critical. When it comes into play, you blow up one of your opponent's battle cards. It's fairly easy, fairly simple. It is a 4-drop, so you really have to be careful with this card. I generally will not play it until turn 6, or if I objection, however, until I have, 5 energy. It takes 2 green. So you want to at least have 2 green out. Generally, your board is going to be, you want it to be 3 red, 2 green, and 1 blue. Now, it's a solid card. It puts pressure on your opponent. It's got critical. It's just a really, really, really good card. Now, moving along to one of my favorite cards in this deck, and one of many people's favorites since it's splashed into a lot of decks nowadays, Super Saiyan Gotenks. This card is arguably one of the best cards in this game. The case can be held to say it is the best card in this game. It is a 3-drop, essentially, that has double strike, and you draw a card. So basically, it's a 5-drop that says, when you play this card, untap 2 energy and draw a card, which turns it from a 5-drop into a 3-drop, so you don't tap yourself out on it, and it has double strike. It's just a phenomenal card, plus it's 25,000 attack. No good player is going to leave this card on the board once it's out. They're going to get it off the board as quick as possible. Now, moving into the blue lineup, we've got 4 Senzu Beans. It's a very, very, very important card. It's a staple card. You will tap yourself out very, very quickly if you're not careful. On top of that, we're seeing a lot more defensive plays coming in set 2 in the meta. So using Senzu Bean to stop the attacks from the tokens or stop multiple attacks just in general is becoming very solid. It's just a good card. Activate battle, untap 2 energy, and give 5,000 power to something till the end of turn. Essentially, you're only paying, you're untapping 1 energy because you're tapping the one that you took plus another. If you're running something that takes 2 red, just untap 2 red. There's no real rhyme or reason to which color you untap. It's just whatever's necessity at the time. 4 Weeks Coercion. I hate this card as much as I love this card. It's a negate and it's blue and it untaps an energy. Yes, I would preferably be playing 2 of them and then playing 2 Vados Assistants, which is the red negate because it untaps, but it's just too good not to. Untapping an energy after negating is very solid. You use Week's Coercion, take the next hit, you top deck a Senzu Bean, you Senzu Bean, untap, boom. The plays just keep flowing. Moving along, we have Tucson Goten. As I stated before, it's a target for Mighty Mask. It is your blue energy if you need a blue energy. Mighty Mask, there's 4 of them. You will see them. If you don't see a Goten, search it. Easy as that. Don't ever put a Senzu Bean or Week's Coercion into your energy unless it's absolutely necessary. And rounding it off, the last 2 cards of the deck is 2 Objections. Objection is it's a good card and a bad card. It's better in this format than it was last format because you want to be able to eat your hand down so that cell doesn't hurt you so bad, which in itself is pretty good. So it's a ramp. You pay 2, place 1 card from your hand into the energy. So essentially you're taking 2 cards out of your hand and dropping yourself lower. It's a great play if you want to try and get your tokens up to double strike. Other than that, that's the main deck. Moving into the side deck, we've got 2 Hidden Awakening Kale for the mirror match or for any token matchup to blow up all the tokens. Ready to Strike Piccolo is for the cell matchup. You want to be able to limit the cell hand. You also use it in the basically any deck that swarms the hand. So Red-blue, you're going to use it because they get a lot of cards in hand. Cell, you're going to use it. You're going to use it against Zamasu. So virtually every card, or every deck that's in the meta, what it does is your opponent has to have 6 cards at the end of their turn. If they don't, they have to discard down to 6. The next card on our sideboard is Ultimate Judge Jocko. This card is phenomenal right now. Phenomenal. Because TN is such a heavy presence in this format. Being able to bounce that TN so that it doesn't come into play will save your butt more than once, let me tell you. So it's in our sideboard because it's not for every matchup. You're going to side it in against green. You're going to side it in, so like Cell, green, blue, Vegeta, anything that's using TN, essentially you're using that to combo against it, as well as, you know, bouncing a combo card is generally just a good thing. It's primarily in my sideboard for the pop on TN. That way I don't have to deal with him trying to blow everything up next turn and forcing the Awaken on himself. The next card is Furthering Destruction Champa. It flows in as a red card in our energy, if anything, and it can give double strike to any card that doesn't have double strike. Now, I understand that this deck, generally, almost everything in this deck has double strike that's going to be on the board and that's relevant. So, primarily, it's for giving either Kale or Son Gohan double strike. And double strike critical is pretty good. You know, heck, we could give it to Mighty Mask if we really want to, or to Prodigy Fusion Super Saiyan Gotenks. Just good. Up next, we've got Father Son Kamehameha, which is primarily in the sideboard as well for Cell, because, let's face it, we're going to see a lot of Cell this format. A lot. So, Father Son Kamehameha is a very, very good counter card. It's not a counter card. It's a very good card to counter an opponent's play. Say they bring out the 5-drops, or the 7-drop Cell on turn 3. Father Son Kamehameha, blow it up. Father Son Kamehameha says, KO one of your opponent's battle cards whose cost is equal then or greater to their energy. So, use it on a 7-drop Cell when they drop it on turn 3. You can use it on virtually anything. Really, you only want to side this in matchups that your opponent's dropping big cards early. Any time that they're ramping for a card, you hit it. It's as easy as that. And the last card in our sideboard to round off 15 is Mafuba. I love this card, but I don't like this card in the main deck anymore. This card can beat a dead draw more often than not. And honestly, it's really only in there for things like Beerus, things like anything that's really, really big, that's going to really, really hurt you, is what Mafuba's for. Also, you can side it in the Cell matchup so that when they go into the 5-drop Cell and they attack you, because potentially they might attack you, you can go ahead and Mafuba that 5-drop Cell so that you don't have to worry about the 7-drop till 2 turns from now. But guys, that's going to do it. Leave your comments, questions, concerned in the bottom section, the doobly-doo below us, and I will try and get to you guys. Also, I stream not every day. I stream 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. All right, we stream at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to about 3 a.m. Eastern Time as well. We stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/ScotchTY. But guys, that's going to do it for me. I appreciate everybody coming in and viewing this video, and it's on the Wise Guys, so peace, guys. Catch you in the meantime, in between time. We out.